Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Hustleology Show with the Fortune 500 marketer Musa Ali coming at you again with this hot fire. On today's episode, we have Dave Anderson, formerly known as Taz Daddy. You may be familiar with him from seeing him on The Breakfast Club as of late. He was there promoting his new book, Pitch, Close, Upsell, Repeat. He can be found at businessbullyshow.com, and there you can stay abreast to what he's doing as far as his podcast. He has his own podcast, the Business Bully Podcast, and he's worked with Les Brown, he's worked with David Banner, he's worked with Charlemagne the God. He's really heavy and deep within the industry, within the entertainment industry, and he has a history in the radio industry as well. But I'm going to let you listen to my interview with Dave Anderson. I'm going to let him tell you about himself, and I want everybody to take notes. He's going to be dropping gems about kind of like the self-help guru wave that we're seeing now with the Grant Cardones and the Ty Lopez's and the Gary Vaynerchuk's, and no disrespect to them, but he's saying a lot of things that especially people from from our culture that's on our minds, but he's really articulating and expressing it and saying a lot of the things that that we're thinking. So I want everybody to take notes, man. Listen, soak up game and soak up the ism. And without further ado, here's my interview with Dave Anderson.
For me, it was a situation where I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. It was a situation for me where it just helped to raise my profile. I'm sorry?
No, go ahead.
Oh, it helped me to raise my profile. I'm not going to lie, I sold thousands of books because I was on the Breakfast Club. It was a great opportunity for people who were familiar with me to understand what I was doing now. I never really got an opportunity to talk about what happened on my side of the situation, and also why I decided to just walk away from radio.
Right.
There comes a point, and I don't care what kind of job you have, and this is a problem. Like, there are a lot of people who thought, and there are people who still think, that I was making millions of dollars because I was on a nationally syndicated show. And I'm like, no. I was on a local Dallas morning show that through a whole lot of hard work, I thrusted into syndication. But we were still treated like the stepchild. We were in a company where you have Tom Joyner and Russ Parr, you know what I mean? And all these other people who have been there for so long. And so the bread wasn't that long. It was good bread, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But the only person who was making $1 million a year was Ricky. And so when you look at the way the industry was going, and I'm not going to put anybody's business out there, but I'm going to show you things that you can Google. Tom Joyner don't even own the majority of his company anymore.
Wow.
So all that breaking away from ABC just to get thrust into a situation where you're selling off pieces and equity in your company, when it's all said and done, man, I'm not trying to be funny when I say this, and I'm not saying that Tom is broke, but what I am saying is I think that people will know that it ain't as sweet as people think it is. People think because you're on the radio or because you're on TV that you just balling out the gym, and it's not that way.
Exactly.
When I left the Ricky show, because there was so much going on with that, nobody touched me. So for like 6 months, I couldn't do anything. So I'm just living off of my savings, because I made too much for unemployment. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I still had this lifestyle. I had 2 cars. I had a 2,500 square foot apartment in Arlington where the Cowboys and the Rangers and Six Flags is.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So my lifestyle was conducive to a major market radio show producer's lifestyle, but now I'm unemployed. So there was a lot of downsizing, a lot of dwindling of my savings, and when it's all said and done, I wound up homeless. So those are the things that people don't see. And the only thing that saved me, because no one would hire me, was to take sales jobs, because sales jobs, they'll pretty much take anybody. You either suck or you don't.
Right.
And because I'd spent my entire life from the time I was 9, endorsing products, dealing with people, understanding what makes people tick, talking in sound bites, I became an excellent salesperson.
Right.
And so I sold my way out of homelessness.
Wow.
That's and that's just what it is, man.
So when you talk about the radio industry, you know, some may say that it's kind of like, you know, because you got a lot of people in that are Greeks, you know, black, and especially blacks, you know, black Greek letter organizations that kind of, you know, have a fraternal order within the radio industry itself. So was there any politics, you know, in regards to that? You know, do they kind of just look out for their own, or how does that work?
I will put it to you like this, okay? Steve Harvey is a Q. Tom Joyner is a Q. Steve Harvey was leaving Dallas. He picked up the phone and called his frat brother, Ricky Smiley, and said, "Hey, boy, come get this job." And Ricky Smiley left Alabama in Birmingham. Birmingham, Alabama is a small market. It's not the smallest market in the world, but it ain't no top 5 market.
Right.
So he left that and came to Dallas off the strength of Steve Harvey saying, "Give this man his job."
Wow.
You know, I am not necessarily, and I need to say this with all due respect to the Divine Nine, I'm not a big fan of Black Greek letter organizations because I think in a lot of ways it's divisive. I think that because they are not as prevalent when it comes to the service and the scholarship aspects of what they do.
Right, exactly.
You know, then it becomes about partying, you know, penis or pussy. It becomes about, you know, who you know, and I'm better than you because I went through this quote unquote process.
Right.
You know, and then when you break it down from a historical context, what was happening was Black people were not having the advantages, obviously, that white people were having. And so what winds up happening is they see the model and they run with it. Now, we all know that the Greek language and the culture and the philosophy came
from Egypt.
You know, from Egypt. We get that. However, let's not divorce the fact that you were creating a model based upon what you saw them do. Exactly. Just like saying the Negro Leagues was not based on the major leagues. That's like saying TNA is not based off of WWE. You have got to be kidding yourself. Right. So you can try and spin it any way you want to.
Right.
But the fact remains that you're taking something that at its root is problematic.
Exactly.
And because it's problematic, you're bastardizing something that was meant to be beautiful in order to support people. And this is what I mean. Having seen people, and I'm not going to speak on my own particular situation, but I will say that when there are processes, I don't feel like you need to put your hands on me in order to establish brotherhood.
Exactly.
I don't. I do not feel like you need to humiliate people and make them do things that are not hygienic in order to understand the importance of trust and respect. I do not believe in that. I do, however, believe in scholarship. I do, however, believe in making sure that you take care of yourself, meaning people who look like you, before you take care of anybody else. I had a conversation with David Banner, and he says, I'm all about racism. I said, what do you mean, Banner? He says, well, white people are racist to the point where they take care of their own. We need more of that. Right. He said, Asians take care of their own. We need more of that.
Exactly.
You know, and what winds up happening is we get ourselves in a position where we're always subservient to other people. Right. We're looking for other people's approval, right, to the point where you take the image of Cesare Borgia and say that's Jesus Christ, even though earlier depictions of Christ show Christ to be looking more like Arnold from Different Strokes than he ever did the Pope's son.
Right.
I mean, seriously, skin of bronze, hair like wool. That don't look like them.
Exactly. So
they had to hem some things up. But because God is white, then that automatically has a pattern called transference. So then, if God must be white, then white people must be God. So if white people are God and I'm black, I can't be God. Even though we're responsible for mathematics and engineering, we built the White House. Right. Black people built the White House. Right. Black people designed Washington, D.C. Black people built everything in this country except for the railroad because that was the Chinese. But let's not forget about John Henry, the steel driving man. While that may have been a myth, best believe it was based on somebody black. And so what winds up happening is we're playing from a position of trying not to lose as opposed to being the winners that we naturally are because we've been programmed to think that we're less than. That's why I've never met you. You and I have never shared the same air as far as I know. Right. But I guarantee you I can play psychic right now and say, you've heard the following. Oh, I can't stand black businesses. They're always more expensive. The service isn't great. There's always some dumb stuff with niggers.
Yeah, it's true. I've heard that.
I must be a psychic. I need to hang up this phone with you and start a 900 line.
Yeah. And and a lot of times that comes from other black people.
Yes, it comes from other black people because that's what they've been programmed to believe. Right. My wife and I, one of the most spirited debates my wife and I ever got into came down to ratchet television. Now, my wife is a very intelligent woman. I will argue to say she's more intelligent than me in certain aspects. And my issue with what we were seeing was that while my wife is nothing like these raggedy women that you see on television,
right,
it's still entertaining. It is. It's just like trying to say that if you see a car wreck, you're not stopping and slowing down. They call this a gaper delay. You're not stopping and slowing down to see if there's a head rolling down the street. That's what we do.
Exactly.
That's everybody. I don't care if you're Japanese or Cambodian. Everybody likes to see mess. That's just how we're wired. Right. The problem is every other group in America has a balance. For every redneck show, there's an apprentice. There is a good wife. There is some kind of Grey's Anatomy. There's something where there are people who are conscious.
Right.
But if you look at any show, whether it's Scandal, Being Mary Jane, Basketball Wives, whatever it is, if women are great at being great business people, then the narrative is that they're horrible at relationships, coexisting, working together, and that cannot be further from the truth. If it was not for the black woman, black people would be lost, but that's not the narrative. Right. And so when you go to other countries, like when I went to the Netherlands, everybody was like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, what do you mean, oh my gosh? Well, I thought that you were going to have like your pants sagging and this, that, and the thing. We didn't create that construct. That is not something that's of us. Right. You see what I'm saying? Right. But that message is out there. And so if you look at who really runs the shows, Mona Scott Young has no power. She's Lady Eloise. Okay? They hired Mona Scott Young to be the black face because there's a couple of Jewish guys. You can Google this because what was happening was Jim Jones was trying to push a show, with him and Chrissy.
Right.
Mona Scott Young, for people who don't know, she ran a label called Violator Management, managed Missy Elliott, Busta Rhymes, so on and so forth. Right. When it was time to get this thing done, there were a couple of Jewish guys who were producing this, and they hired Mona Scott Young to be the fall guy. I mean, the blackface, to be the executive producer. I'm sorry, I misspoke. So while you're blaming Mona Scott Young, you don't see the man behind the curtain. Watch The Wizard of Oz again with new eyes. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Let me show you this big, larger-than-life figure who's responsible for all of that.
Exactly.
So that I can get an audience with the wizard.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
we gotta be more conscious of what we're feeding people because that narrative is dangerous. There's a show on MTV, I think, maybe a couple of years ago, where there are parts of North Carolina where there are no black people, and they saw some black people and they were shocked that they were not like what they saw on TV.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? So that image is important, and that image affects what winds up happening.
Right. Most definitely. Yeah, man. It's funny that you say that. I got in a discussion yesterday about Mona Scott Young, and I think that a lot of times what we do is we kind of look at the token. A lot of black people look at the token Negro as inspiration. This is something that I can do. Such and such did this, that, and the third. I can do that. And although that, I love black success in whatever form it comes in. But I think that too often we look at the token Negro and not the self-made black man like yourself, and even though you had a history in radio and, working with people, not a lot of people are going to tell the story of Dave Anderson, who has all of these books and these courses and different things like that. They're always, it's always looked at as what you did for working for somebody else. That's the inspiration and the motivation instead of the independent entrepreneur. So, So tell me about that, like, it's switching lanes and, going
Right.
from sales positions and sales jobs into, just kind of, just surviving off of your brand, the Dave Anderson brand.
I'm going to tell you, it's feast or famine. This is me being 100% transparent, because I don't like this narrative, and this is not to disrespect anybody, but I have to speak my truth. Okay? There are quote unquote gurus, and we all know who they are. And these gurus will tell you, oh, just focus on one thing. These gurus will tell you, oh, just, 10x your life and document everything. Don't plan anything. I only do one thing. And I'm like, you're lying. And then what you're not telling people is, my father had full Alzheimer's and dementia by the time I was 17. Before I got to campus at Temple University, my father had to go into a home. Into hospice. My father, the strongest man I ever knew.
Wow.
So I'm losing my father at a very critical time, and I'm not trying to make anybody, feel bad for me, because I had father figures. I had a stepfather. I had a grandfather. My stepfather and my grandfather died within a month of each other.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? So all the positive, strong male influences that I had were dying off like the dinosaurs. So I didn't have a daddy to give me $1,000 to blow on baseball cards at the mall.
Right. Right.
That's the part that gets left out of the conversation.
Exactly.
I didn't have a daddy to give me a leg up in real estate, which gets left out of the 10X conversation. You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
I didn't have 2 or 3 generations of insurance policies to build my brand off of. My parents didn't get government subsidies when I got into the country to buy a liquor store. My father bought a corner store on a cop's salary, and he pulled his money from his accountant brothers and my uncle, who happened to be in radio, which nobody knew, which is why I never used the name Anderson, because Kearney Anderson ran WBLX in New York, WBLS in New York. He ran WMBX in Chicago.
Okay.
I never used his name because I wanted to make it on my own. Never got a handout, never got a hand up. So when people talk about being self-made, a lot of people that you believe are self-made had a hell of a lot of help.
Wow, that's right.
And if I could, and this is not, and I'm being real, because I am not a multimillionaire. I do well. I'm not going to lie. I do well, but I'm not a multimillionaire. If I could afford to pay somebody $100,000 a year to follow me around, you know what this grind really is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And so for me, I take issue with the fact that if Damon Dash gets on the Breakfast Club and tells DJ Envy, listen, you need to understand that you cannot pass your job down to your son. If your son does not have your skill set, if he can't DJ, so on and so forth, it's a wrap. You can't give him anything. Right. I'm talking about legacy. And every Negro came out the woodwork on the internet. Oh, Dame Dash is crazy. That's why Jay-Z left him, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And Dame Dash is trying to show you, listen, I had a partnership with Def Jam. There's a difference between a partnership and being under somebody's thumb. That was a 50-50 partnership.
Right.
He's trying to break that down. And everybody's saying he's crazy and this, that, and the third. He fell out with Jay on some personal stuff, that rolled over into business. Not some business that rolled over into personal stuff. There is a difference and a distinction, which is why ain't nobody been killed behind it.
Right.
So let's start stating some facts. I'm going somewhere with this, so bear with me.
I hear you.
When Gary Vaynerchuk says, oh, you have to go in. You have to tell your mom, it's okay. Oh, it's like somebody just showed fire to cavemen. Folks are running up and down.
Right.
And I'm like,
Facts.
if I say that, people tell me I'm crazy.
Facts.
People tell me I'm too rough. People tell me I'm a bully. That's where the business bully name came from. If you want me to do that, like Reggie Noble said in 1996, I'll be that. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm at a point now where, and this is no diss to Vaynerchuk, but I have to speak my truth. Bro, you frauding. And when I say he's frauding, what he does is very real. What he does as far as making money and day trading information, that's very real, and more power to you. But I have an issue with somebody who, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, only speaks to black people in hip-hop and sports references.
Wow.
Go back and watch it. When he speaks in Berlin, he speaks like a normal human being who speaks English, who's intelligent and intelligible. When he speaks to black people, it's always, say, if you want to be the next Jeezy, get on Twitter and start talking about Jeezy conversations. Look at the hashtags and start talking about Jeezy, because God forbid, all we want to do is either be LeBron, Jeezy, or Beyonce.
Wow. Speak on it.
Go look. I'm not making this up. I am not trying to disrespect this man. More power to him. I like a lot of what he says. I don't like how he talks to people who look like me. Because people who look like me are more than that. I made the basketball team, when I was in middle school, but I sucked.
Right.
Because I'm not an athlete. My brother won 2 basketball championships, but my brother's a police officer in Philadelphia. My brother has 2 degrees. He is not a moron. And I'm not saying, because I'm not big on degrees either, but my point is, Vaynerchuk, you can't go around condescending to people. You can't belittle black people and put us all in this box, because the truth of the matter is, when I was playing 7 instruments, hip-hop wasn't my main form of music that I was listening to. It wasn't my favorite genre.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So we have to be very careful. So getting back to your self-made question, only the successful will admit that they're self-made. Most people don't understand that they've been conditioned since birth, and especially black people. Here's what I mean. Watch me, and then we can move on to your next question. When children are born, okay, parents still have to work. There is no, like it is in Europe, where you can take a year or 2 off and bond with your child. No universal health coverage, none of that fly stuff. Right. So what winds up happening? You got to go with auntie or grandma or somebody else who's not working, who's at home, or you go to daycare. And when are you in daycare? Oh, arguably 8 hours. So you're at daycare for 8 hours. So that's automatically in you, whether you realize it or not. Right. Then you go into preschool, where you're there for 8 hours, whether you realize it or not. Then you go into kindergarten, and sometimes you have half a day for kindergarten, either the beginning half or the lower half, depending, but you're still someplace else for the other 4 hours. Right. So then when you get into first grade all the way through 12th grade, what happens? You're working Monday through Friday, and you're so happy for Friday, because on Friday, statistically, there's no homework.
You're right.
And we can get into the semantics as to why homework is or is not important later. But there's no homework. So now you've been conditioned your entire life to work Monday through Friday for 40 hours a week and live for those 2 days.
Exactly.
And then you wonder why, when you get to college, there's no courses on entrepreneurship, and the courses that do exist on entrepreneurship are a joke. They don't teach you how to balance a checkbook. They don't teach you about business credit. They don't teach you about Dun & Bradstreet. They don't teach you the things that you need to know in order to make a business actually function, because the name of the game when it comes to these farms and plantations that we call education is to create the ladder and climb the ladder upon which corporates looking for you to go up. In other words, instead of creating the building upon which the corporate ladder leans, they want to teach you how to climb the corporate ladder. They want to teach you how to be a great worker. They don't want to teach you how to be a great thinker. Let me ask you a question. Pop quiz. How many stars are in Orion's belt?
I have no idea.
Congratulations, you are not smarter than a 5th grader. That's why people in MIT and Harvard and Yale and Stanford and Howard and Temple can't get past on that game show, because the majority of stuff that you're fed as a child does not help you in real life. Exactly. I have not used algebra. I've made millions of dollars for companies, and I ain't once had to use H plus 3 equals 8.
Right.
I am not an engineer. I am not an architect. I don't need Pythagoras' theorem either.
Right. Exactly.
So, we have all of these things happening, but no one's talking about the conditioning. And you know who gets to rise above those conditions?
Who?
White people.
Because
white people get to bootstrap. White people get to tell the story. And like the old African proverb says, until such time as the lion learns to write, the hunter will always be the hero of the story.
Right, exactly.
So you can talk about how your dad was okay with you blowing $1,000 after you just got finished saying how hard it was for him as an immigrant. Something ain't jobbing, Chief.
Right, exactly.
Because you can just go to the mall by yourself, rent a booth, and spend $1,000 on baseball cards and rock out. Okay. Yeah. Oh no. Granted, when it comes to wine, I think he's probably the best sommelier available to man. Love him for that. But when it comes to dealing with people honestly, I have some issues and I have some questions.
Yeah, and I mean, you're talking to a lot of us, especially like in the black entrepreneurs who have podcasts and different platforms and different things like that. We listen to them, and after a while, it's kind of like, we start to see the smoke and mirrors, so to speak. So you speaking the truth, man. Those are facts, definitely facts, man. And it's funny that you brought up bootstrapping. Dame talked about that. You know what I'm saying? Bootstrapping and how to be an entrepreneur from nothing. And see that, like you said, that never gets talked about. See, a lot of people, this is just not black people, but a lot of people, 85% of people have this struggle where they don't have enough capital to start their own business. They have to bootstrap. They have to make $1 out of 15 cents. Talk about, and you transitioned from sales positions and sales jobs after you got out of radio into building your own brand. Tell me what was the process? You know what I mean? Coming from as a salesperson to an entrepreneur, and what you had to do to bootstrap, flip, and re-up, and rinse and repeat, and all that good stuff.
Okay, so let's talk about this honestly. This is the one thing you will hear me and Gary Vaynerchuk agree on. The internet has leveled the playing field. And this is a conversation that Charlamagne and I had 10 years ago. Like when you're in radio, if you were in a small market like Fayetteville, North Carolina, which is market 126, there's approximately 256 markets that are graded, meaning they have ratings. Anything below Tupelo, Mississippi, you can cancel Christmas. It's not getting rated, so it really don't count. Okay. You see what I'm saying? So Fayetteville, North Carolina, market 126, ain't nothing popping. Now you go to Charlotte, which is, I think, market 46.
Okay.
Different ball game. And so what winds up happening is, if I got a Kanye West in my studio in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and please understand that a lot of big rappers will do small shows because that's how they make their money. Promoters, drug dealers like to launder their money. Let's just keep it funky. Not saying that every promoter is a drug dealer, but smart drug dealers are promoters.
Right,
so,
right.
They'll come through, they'll do the radio interview. And if I'm asking a question about Kanye's relationship with Alexis and why all of a sudden, he's all up Kim Kardashian's behind, and I have that videotape and I send it to a TMZ, then boom, I'm as big as Rosenberg in New York. So here's what I'm saying, and this is what most entrepreneurs miss, and this is why it's very important to understand who I am in this context. Before I made the transition, because I went from radio personality, from the age of 9 to 21, to producer. Okay. My first producing gig happened at Radio 1. They replaced that morning show with Russ Parr. I went across the street. Wendy came down from New York because Puff basically blackballed her. So she came down from New York, and I wound up at 21 being her producer. Okay. She lovingly fired me the same way Roberta Flack fired Luther Vandross and said, "You're going to be all right, but you ain't going to make it here. You got to go. You got too much ambition." And that wasn't no shade. It was the greatest favor I'd ever had done to me. Wow. You see what I'm saying? So you fast forward a few years, and I'm producing DJ Clue. My boss at the time got Clue out of 97 and over to Power. Okay. So we did that show. I was going to do a show with Pimp C, but Pimp C died the day before we were going to start taping.
Rest up, Pimp.
Yo, man. Pimp was amazing. I was close to the bun, but Chad was funny as hell, man. We ain't playing no motherfucking Beyonce. I'll tell you that right. This gonna be underground, nigga. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's what I hold on to. But I said all that to say that I was a producer, and what I understood as a producer was, if I'm going to make sure that my talent gets ratings, I have to give them I have to get their information and their content out to people.
Right.
So when you look at a company like iHeart, which was Clear Channel when I got there, I became the first director of social media. They had social media managers. They had social networking managers. I was the first director of social media, black or white. Now everybody over there is a director of social media.
Right.
So you know how that go. Anyhow, I had built up enough equity because there was, if you go back to 2009, and I'm trying to give you the process as quickly as I can. If you go back to 2009, the BET Awards, right after Michael Jackson died, Jamie Foxx hosted it, and it was a hot, nappy mess.
Yeah.
No diss to Jamie, I love it.
Right.
But I wrote a Facebook blog called "The Top 10 Reasons the BET Awards Made Me Want to Vomit." The next morning, I wake up with 5,000 friend requests and an article in the LA Times.
Wow.
That is what taking control of an opportunity does. We don't see the holes. I'm like Emmitt Smith, and I'm not a Cowboys fan, but I'm like Emmitt Smith. I can see the hole, I'm going to run through it. But I got to find the hole first. And once I find the hole, I'm going. So that taught me that it's not about what you say, it's where you say it and how you distribute it.
Right.
And the internet changes that. So I took that knowledge and then I revamped, Clear Channel, which is now iHeart's way of doing everything. And so I did all of that, and then I left because there were certain things that I was saying to do that folks were acting like was not good ideas, and when I left, automatically those ideas just became reality.
Right.
Exactly. And I'm not going to say what they are, but I will say that the company's no longer called Clear Channel. It's iHeart Everything, just like McDonald's has a Big Mac and McFlurries and McNuggets.
Right. Exactly.
Because if you think Clear Channel, you think billboards. You don't think radio.
Exactly.
But when you think iHeart, you do.
Exactly.
So, and I'm not going to get into some of the things they do with black people. God bless them. I appreciate opportunities, but it is what it is. So I had to create a lane. And what I realized was there was a gap, because I'm not the black people's sales coach. I'm a sales coach who happens to be black, who loves his people.
Exactly.
I am not a black derivative, so my whole thing was use the internet first, understand how to sell second, understand how people behave third, and then find their need and fucking fill it. That's it. It is a 4-step process I call pitch, close, upsell, repeat. That's why I wrote the book.
Right.
When I was selling home security, I noticed that, I went to Temple University, which is in North Philadelphia. It is a hood. The school is not hood. It's an oasis in the middle of the hood. And they have gentrified a lot of the hood. But my point was I saw all of these developers, buying up property for cheap, either at sheriff sale or short sale or whatever the case may be. And I'm selling home security systems.
Exactly.
I'm going to the hood. And so there's always, in every black neighborhood I've ever been in, there's always a woman either sitting in her windowsill, sitting in her door, or sitting on a porch watching the world go by.
Yep.
That is the smartest person you will ever meet. And so I went up to the neighborhood mother and I said to her, ma'am, excuse me, can you tell me who's buying up all these properties? Oh, yeah, baby, that's that little white boy around the corner. I said, thank you so much, ma'am. I'm going to be back and see you in an hour. I went around the corner. I said, who's in charge here? Guy says, I'm in charge here. I said, what's your name? My name is Yerman. I said, okay, Yerman, look, how many properties do you have? Oh, this is a 50-unit thing. Okay, cool. I'll tell you what, I'll give you all these units at half off the cost. Let's sign this deal now. We signed the deal. I made $2,800 in about 30 minutes. I came back. I gave that woman a $100 tip and put her in a free system that I paid for a year. See, what everybody tries to go out here and do is say, hi, my name is Johnny. I have this wonderful product.
Exactly.
You're not going to get there one-to-one, hand-to-hand. That's bullshit. Shaking hands and kissing babies is great for politics because it's great for optics, but that's not how elections are won.
Exactly.
Elections are won by states.
Exactly.
So you have to have a sweeping approach.
Right.
And, when people saw me do that, they're like, oh, damn. Anderson's doing it this way. Oh, well, we can't let him do that anymore. So then the rules change.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Right.
And so I realized that whether I was selling gutters or home security systems or anything else, the process in and of itself remains the same.
Right.
And so I took my knowledge and I started to write a book called Common Sense Ain't Common. And that book was just to give people an understanding of what it could be. And that's why Charlemagne has uncommon sense. See what I'm saying?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So you have that, and then when I wrote Pitch, Close, Upsell, Repeat, I put 6 years into selling and mastering what it is to sell my way, not some, Grant Cardone method that costs $10,000, or not some Gary Vaynerchuk vague, document. Don't create. Crappity do, just real brass tacks. I wrote 74 pages. Why is it 74 pages? Because we ain't got time to read a whole bunch if we making money.
Exactly.
I'm not fluffing you.
Exactly.
So that's what I did, and I continue to do that. So when people join when they join my sales course, at bit.ly/2 join the bully, they get results. I got people making 4 or 5 figures a month. Why? Because I'm cutting through the BS.
Right.
And then, when it comes to one-on-one coaching and things of that nature, then, that's when the costs start to occur. But at the end of the day, I have to value me. We give away more than we actually need to in order to survive. That's why Koreans now run nail salons. That's why different types of Asians run the hair care industry, because we gave so much away that we didn't sell anything. The game is to be sold, not to be told.
Yep.
Last I checked, that was pimping 101.
Yeah.
But black people started slipping on their pimping, and it cost us.
Yeah, exactly. You ain't lying there. You are not lying there, man. And man, speaking of that, man, and I know you got to go. I know you got things to do. Got to.
Are you good?
Yeah,
you good?
yeah. You're coming from the radio world,
right?
And podcasting is big now. Especially for in the talk radio realm, and now you have streaming music services that are kind of, because I don't listen to the radio. I'm 32, and I don't listen to the radio. So you got millennials who are just not listening and tuning into the radio. Where do you see like this whole world of the audio experience going, in radio and podcasting and streaming service? Do you think radio is just going to be just a foregone memory in a few years, or where do you think it's headed?
I think radio will always be here the same way television will always be here. Do I think it will be as powerful? No. And they'll try to tell you everything under the sun about how radio still reaches more people and blah, 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 blah. But you know what? A hit dog will holler every day.
Right.
And so what winds up happening is they have not adjusted. The Breakfast Club isn't popular because of its radio show. The Breakfast Club is popular because of YouTube.
Exactly.
Let's not get that twisted.
Exactly.
The radio show is good. I'm not going to lie. Charlamagne is one of my best friends. I love him to death. He gave me money when I couldn't give myself any. So I can't take anything away from this man at all.
Right.
Okay? But the show in and of itself, is good. But the interviews are what people listen to.
Right.
Tell me what Envy's Mix was playing. You can't.
Right. Exactly.
Tell me what Angela's Rumor Report was saying. You can't. Donkey of the Day, and you know the interviews.
Exactly.
So let's understand that we have to look at it for what it is. And now everybody's trying to do that. But when me and Charlamagne said, we were in Minneapolis in 2008. And when we were there, we were talking about the importance of the fact that black radio throws away its hits too early, and they have nowhere to go, because they go from mainstream hip hop to, On the Wings of Love, Teddy Pendergrass and Anita Baker and all these old other fools, and all that stuff is in the middle. Like, yo, we're about to be 34. We're about to be 35 to 54. And when that happens, all the stuff we grew up with, Guy and old school hip hop and Sir Mix-a-Lot and Big Daddy Kane and KRS-One, all that stuff has nowhere to go.
Right, exactly.
And everybody was like, oh, well, that'll never work. And then all of a sudden, folks start running around here with boom stations and old school hip hop stations. And Charlamagne and I have yet to got a check.
Yeah.
The same people who were laughing at us in Minneapolis in 2008 are the same people who took it and ran with it.
Exactly.
Now, that don't mean that me and Charlamagne ain't hurting financially, because we ain't. But the principle is the principle.
Right.
The same people were in that room who laughed at the idea, who then took the idea and ran with it. And anybody tells you differently, my whole thing is ask Charlamagne. And go back and watch my interview on the Breakfast Club where I say Charlamagne invented the boom format.
Yeah, you said that. I remember.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to sit up here and say that, we were having a conversation and I'm like, yo, yeah, this is the truth. We throw our stuff away. Like, why is it Boys to Men don't have a home?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So when, Charlamagne sparked that conversation, so I'm not going to say that I invented it, but we did tell people what should have been done. So I'm going to give that man credit, and I'm going to boost him up because he's giving me his platform.
Exactly.
So, that's what you do with your brother, but, it is what it is.
So do you think, man, and you've spoken a lot, and Tariq talks about this a lot, man, Tariq Nasheed. I think you were on his show one time. I think you called into the Ustream show one night.
Yeah, me and Tariq are very good friends. I toured with Tariq. I used to open for Tariq on his lecture series.
Yeah. Deep, man. Tariq is the dude, man.
Tariq's a great dude.
Yeah. So, he talks a lot about, us being, as far as black people, like when we go into rooms with other cultures, that we need to really just kind of just ear hustle the game and, our ideas we may tell them our ideas and they might shoot it down, but then a few weeks later, then they adapt it into a show or into a station. Do you think, like, hindsight being 2020, do you, like, now going into rooms now, are you just kind of like, is that your strategy? You know, you just kind of ear hustle and, you know, you don't really, you kind of close lip about what your plans are?
Bro, you won't see me coming until it's done.
Right.
You won't. And that's not me being funny. That's not me being shady. That's me being honest. Because what happens is, look at it like this, right? When you see, like, there are these commercials, I think it was Dodge or Chevy, forgive me, I don't remember which one, but they had this commercial of this white man who allegedly invented the cell phone. I'm like, that's not the truth. So what winds up happening is, if you honestly think Edison failed 1,000 times and then all of a sudden he came up with a light bulb, go look up Lewis Latimer.
Right.
If you want to talk about how Edison was a great inventor, go look up George Washington Carver, and then let's talk about Edison being a great inventor. Let's talk about the fact that people give Marconi credit for radio when it was Tesla. That's why the electric car is named for Tesla.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So what winds up happening is you either have the money and the resources to make it happen, or you give your idea to somebody else because you run your mouth too much. Loose lips.
Yeah.
Sink ships. You know, I mean, that's what it is. And we have Titanic mouths.
Right. Yep.
You won't see me coming until it's too late for you to do anything about it. And even if you, and this is why I tell people, I'm going to give you an example. Another pop quiz. You and I still have never been in the same room, breathed the same air as far as you and I know, correct?
Correct.
I'm going to give you a pop quiz. You've been to a supermarket before, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, here comes my psychic moment. Describe a cookie that has 2 chocolate and cream in the middle. What would you call that?
Oreo.
Wrong. You call it a Hydrox. Hydrox came out first. Oreo had better marketing. Hydrox is dead. Oreo's America's favorite cookie. Bitch, nice. I'm Oreo. I'm coming. You can sit up here and tell people that you came up with, go have a conversation with your mama and so on and so forth. You can go tell people that, you dominate this, that, and the third. You can go tell people that you build it up by your bootstraps. Bitch, I'm coming for you.
Right.
And when I come, it's a wrap. And I'm going to tell you this, and this is what pisses me off, because I have black folks who say, well, why is it that you speak to white audiences? Well, you know what? I speak to white audiences because HBCUs don't want me.
Wow.
Let's just keep it real. When I go and my team, I have people who book my speaking engagements. And maybe it's just been our experience. So I'm saying some HBCUs don't want me.
Wow.
But I can lecture at the University of Pennsylvania, which is an Ivy League school. I can lecture at my alma mater, Temple University. I can go to the University of Tennessee. No problem.
Right.
Fayetteville State, nope.
Wow.
Tennessee State, nope. Cheney, Lincoln, nope. Drexel will have me though.
Wow.
And I don't know if it's because if it's a budget issue, my team ain't bitching for money. Like, just have a conversation. But when I start talking that real about, listen, a lot of this is a hustle. Right. Understand that. People start to get nervous because they value themselves on their education. Just like right after slavery happened, and you look around for Reconstruction in that Jim Crow period, there was a period, when there were more free people starting to walk around. And if some white person stopped you and said, "What are you doing?" What did you have to do? You had to show them your papers. Mm-hmm. So when you hear black people talk about how educated they are, they want to tell you about their degrees. Mm-hmm. I've got degrees, and what? So,
right.
I still had to pay student loans. Obama had to pay student loans. Michelle had to pay student loans. Who gives a damn about your degree if it makes you broke and it doesn't guarantee you a job? Like I said on the Breakfast Club, and people missed it, 300,000 people with MBAs right now put down that they tend bar as their main source of an occupation.
Wow. That's crazy.
So you want to talk to me about your parchment? Let me talk to you about what parchment means. Because if parchment meant that much, we wouldn't have people getting blasted in the street by cops. Mm-hmm. If parchment meant something. Because last I checked, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights was written on parchment.
Right. Exactly.
All that parchment I can't take my parchment to the electric company and say, you know what, I can't pay my light bill this month.
Right.
We got to stop playing these games.
Right.
We have got to stop looking like, oh my goodness, I'm confused and I don't know but I'm educated and I'm smart and people like me. No, dog.
Yeah.
What can you do?
Right. Exactly.
My grandfather lied. He dropped out of school. He lied and he joined the Navy because he was trying to get away from the Klan that was setting to lynch him.
Right.
And when he came out, he went to tailor school. He shined shoes at night, the whole nine. And what wound up happening was he met a woman, my grandmother. After 8 months, they got married. All of their children, with the exception of one, have master's degrees. My Uncle Jimmy went to MIT and was on the team that invented the Jumbotron. Those are facts. He was also playing background bongos for Carlos Santana at Woodstock. And I'm not saying that to brag, but I'm saying that to say that his experiences outside of education were greater than the education itself. Right. My Aunt Fran, the one who did not go to college, she had a 40-year career at the state of New Jersey.
Wow.
She's retired in Florida. So, intelligence does not make education. I know plenty of people who graduated from Yale who are dumb as bricks. And I know plenty of people who graduated from Yale who became president.
Yeah.
Who people say are dumb as bricks.
Right.
And that's another thing. Y'all can't just be politically active when it comes to black people in the White House.
Yeah.
Because I got a problem with somebody who tells me, oh, well, Obama did this and Obama did that. And I'm like, well, what did he do?
Good question.
But then I can say to you, well, what if I told you that every year that Bush was in office, you got a stimulus check? What if I told you that Bush put more black people in positions closer to being president than any other president in history?
Yeah.
What if I told you that Clinton created this the school to prison pipeline and the three strikes you're in for life rule?
Yeah.
What if I told you that? But y'all so busy. What if I told y'all was busy watching them eat fried chicken, hang out with Aretha Franklin, and play sax on Arsenio?
Right. Those are facts.
I vote my interest. White people vote their interest. We vote our feelings and our traditions because Mama said so.
Exactly.
That's why you're not winning. And you don't need a lot of money to start a business. You know what you need? A lot of balls.
Yep.
And a lot of self-confidence.
Right.
And those are things that sometimes we sorely lack.
Exactly.
And I hate it. I really do, man, because I want our people to win. I do, in the worst way. But when I say something, folks want to question me like I don't know what I'm talking about. Right. It doesn't matter how many receipts I have. It doesn't matter that if you go to the Huffington Post and they talk about black male resilience, I'm the person that has the picture. They don't talk about that.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? When I sit down and Dick Gregory's telling me things like, boy, you better watch. You better watch him.
Right.
Know, because you're smart and you know what you're doing. You better be prepared.
Right.
I took that to heart.
Yeah, Dick Gregory's the OG. That's the OG right there.
Yeah, he's the OG. But everybody said he's a cuckoo conspiracy theorist, and nobody will take him seriously, and that's why Dick Gregory's still alive.
Exactly.
Because if we started taking Dick Gregory seriously, they'd take him out. And they tried to get him on the day that Malcolm X was killed, but Dick Gregory was like, no, I'll see y'all coming, I'm out.
Right.
These are facts.
Yeah,
Dick Gregory told you that it wasn't about Michael Jackson's Beatles catalog, but the fact that Michael Jackson owned half of all of Sony's publishing, up to and including Beyonce.
Yeah.
And y'all didn't believe it, but Google is your friend.
Right. Right.
I don't understand this. Yeah. Y'all so busy worried about who's voting and who's not voting, as if your vote made a damn bit of difference. Y'all better start voting in these local elections. How about you find out who your city councilman is, your ombudsman is, your alderman is, and start paying them to handle what's happening in your school district for your children.
Exactly.
But we don't do that because we're not in a position to pay somebody off.
Yeah. And I mean, especially the local elections, especially here in Flint, man, we got the water crisis and everything going on, but, that really boils down to local politics that we forgot about because we were so busy, focusing on Obama and Bush and all of these other characters in the Oval Office that we didn't really pay attention to what was going on here at home. So, yeah, what you're saying makes, it facts, man. I mean, it makes all the sense in the world. But, man, that's why people like yourself, what you do, your platform and the workshops, the business school that you have, man, just keep pushing on it, man. And, because, listen, the fact of the matter is this, man, we're not going to listen to other black people until white people start listening to us. We don't take our people serious until strangers take us serious, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. So we kind of like, we follow the leader, so to speak. So, yeah, most definitely, man. But, I know you got things to do, man, and people to see. And I really appreciate you jumping on the show, short notice, man. I mean, much respect to that, man. And, we gotta link up, brother. Do some type of workshop, some type of seminar on the weekend. I come down to Philly, you come up to Detroit, man, and we just make it do what it do.
Yeah, man, I definitely want to come up to Detroit, man. I almost took a job in Flint at WDZZ, but they couldn't give me the check I wanted. So,
WDZZ,
yeah. So I got people in Detroit. My man Eric Thomas is from Detroit. I'm supposed to be doing some stuff with Breathe University for him. I'm teaching a course for him. Okay. But that's the thing. That black man and me have zero beef. That man gives me love. Like he put me on with his money man, his right hand man, everybody, everything that I needed. That man showed me, and we need to do more of that because he ain't worried about me. You know why he ain't worried about me? Because a candle loses nothing by lighting another one.
That's deep. That's deep.
And that's the thing. But we don't want to do that. We want to hate on each other.
Exactly.
We want to, like Chris Rock famously said, when a guy looks at his man's girlfriend, he's like, damn, I need to get a girl like her. When a woman looks at her best friend's man, she's like, I want him. And unfortunately, all of us act like that when it comes to business. Like we want to be that. We want to take the other people out. Like, yo, this is not the Sopranos, man.
Right. Right, and it is, and that's good to hear. More of us in that, like in that entrepreneur, self-help, genre and field. We all need to just come together, because you look at Grant Cardone and the Gary V's, they all come together and do Brandon Bouchard, Ty Lopez. They all do these, big events together, and they connect and collaborate.
Oh, wait a minute.
Uh-oh,
I almost forgot.
Oh, man, I'd admit.
I have 2.4 million views on YouTube. Ty Lopez, stop piggybacking off my videos.
Ooh.
I'm just saying. So what winds up happening, this is what they do. They find us. Don't think they're not looking at you. They find us. Right. And if you got any type of audience, they will try and take it from you. Ty Lopez is, and I'm not saying he's not within his rights to do so, but I'm just saying, dog. But y'all will run to Ty Lopez, you'll run to Brendan Bouchard, you'll run to Gary Vaynerchuk, you'll run to Grant Cardone, and I'm not saying these people aren't skilled, but do they look like you?
They don't speak your story.
Do they understand your pain?
Exactly.
Have they ever had to run an extension cord from their neighbors to their house to get lights on because things got a little tight?
Exactly.
Ever have to borrow a cup of sugar, a cup of ketchup, a couple of eggs, a couple of pieces of meat? You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, let's talk real. You know what I'm saying? People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I care about my people because they're my people. Mm-hmm. That don't mean that I'm against anybody else or helping anybody else. Listen, man, I help everybody.
Right.
As long as you cut the check, I don't care. You could be the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan. You cutting this check, I'm going to help you. That is called business. Right. Because when you're at Walmart or when you're at McDonald's, nobody knows if the Big Mac that you're serving to that guy in the plaid shirt is a racist. You don't know.
Right.
He's just there for the Big Mac.
Right.
Yep. You see what I'm saying? But I'm going to take my money and I'm going to help my people.
Right.
You know, and if you go and you listen to the Business Bully Show, that's why I got Les Brown on. That's why I got Rodney Perry on. That's why I got Roy Wood Jr. from The Daily Show on. That's why I went out of my way to find people who have done or have been at the throne of power or next to the throne of power to show you what it looks like.
Right.
But you'll sit up here and quote Ty Lopez and Grant Cardone and Gary Vaynerchuk all day like I'm not good enough. And honestly, I'm better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Hey, bruh, hey, you know, everything that you're doing, man, you know, and everything that you've said, you know, as far as your career is concerned, shows that, you know, a thought leader, a tastemaker within the culture.
God
you know
bless
what I mean? And we just have to circle our wagons. That's all. We just have to circle our wagons. We just got to connect the dots with each other and, you know, just, you know, we all we got. Because we can't go to these people and connect with them and collaborate with them. You know, I hit you up. We just started connecting and talking a couple hours ago,
Yep.
And I was like, hey, would you like to come on the show? I really appreciate it if you come on. Cool, no problem. Set it up, got it done, and here we are. You know what I mean? And, the people that we idolize, we don't have access to them like that. You can't just hit them up and say, hey, you know what I'm saying? Let's do something. Let's connect. Let's collaborate. They're going to give you the runaround.
And even if you could, you won't. But I will tell you this: Grant Cardone followed me on Twitter for 2 years, and then all of a sudden unfollowed me. So it comes down to this, right? I literally had tears in my eyes, and I called David Banner because I was frustrated. Sometimes when you cry, it's not a sign of weakness; it's a sign of frustration.
Right.
And sometimes I get frustrated, and I said to Banner, Banner, what's wrong with me? He said, what you talking about? I said, what's wrong with me, man? Like, why is it that this one and that one and this one and that one? He was like, you know the answer. He said, but I'm going to take it to another level. He said, do you remember that time I couldn't do your show? I said, yeah, because you had to go do your movie thing. He said, yeah, I'm scoring movies. He said, that's where the money is. I'm on my John Williams shit. I said, yeah. I said, I'll fault you for that. I've known you 13 years. He said, I did your show, didn't I? I said, yeah, eventually you did do my show because we're friends. That's what you do. He said, exactly. He said, here's the thing, right? When I go and I speak to white audiences, I tell them the truth. When I speak to black audiences, I tell them the truth. And I say this: if all of you supported me, I wouldn't need them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I wiped my eyes and I kept it pushing. So if you want to come rock with me, I'm very easy to find. If you don't, that's cool too. You gonna see me one way or the other.
Right.
And this ain't sour grapes. This ain't me being evil or upset or bitter or none of that, because I'm very happy.
Right.
I'm a great blessed statistic. I have one wife, no children out of wedlock.
Respect.
I am drug and disease free.
Respect.
I pay my taxes, legally. And, man, like, I'm a good person who knows what he's done because he's earned his stripes to do it.
Right.
That's it. So I ain't got nothing to be bitter about, but I am going to state facts. And the fact is, David Banner's right. If I had you, I wouldn't need them.
Mm-hmm. Those are facts, man.
And when people see me ranting on my Facebook page, I'm not ranting, I'm marketing. Because the truth of the matter is my personal page has better algorithms than my fan page because Zuckerberg wants a check every time you try to get them. That's why the only time you should boost your fan page is to reach more of the people who are already on your fan page.
Mm-hmm.
So treat your friend page like it is your business page because you are your business. You ain't got time to look at cat videos. Not if you about this business life.
Right. You're right.
No.
You're right, man. Dropping
but
gems.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, brother. I'll let you get to it, man. But we definitely got to build and link up, brother.
Absolutely. You got my number, man. Thank you so much for giving me your platform. I'm actually going to take this show and I'm going to put it on my podcast so that people get to see your podcast and check it out as well, man. So I'm honored and I appreciate you giving me the time.
Most definitely, man. Much respect. Peace and blessings, brother.
Right back at you.
Yes, indeed. That was my interview with Dave Anderson, man. Real deep conversation. Two grown-ass men talking about business, talking about game, talking about success. And I want to say this. I didn't have any connection with him prior to maybe a few days before this recording. Somebody tagged me in a post of his, and I befriended him on Facebook. And we messaged back and forth for a couple hours. And, I said, hey, man, I would love to have you on my podcast. And he was gracious enough to come on the podcast just off the strength of just my request alone. So I just want everybody to understand that's how you handle business. That's how you handle business, especially the men out there. A lot of times we use this social media to bullshit around and to pussyfoot around and to have fun and play games. And that's cool. The ratchet stuff is cool, every now and then. But when it's time to handle business, grown men should get to the point and get business done like that. That's what grown men should do. Hey, you got a podcast, you got a platform. Hey, you're doing this, doing that. I love it. I like your message. I like what you're talking about. Boom. Let's link up and let's do business. Let's do something. That's what this game is about. A lot of us, man, we play too many games, especially on social media. And the whole purpose of a social network is to network at the end of the day. We have to use these platforms and not let these platforms use us. We have to start connecting and collaborating with people. There's no reason in the world now with the internet and, you know, everything, the ability to connect with people is so decentralized and democratized that we shouldn't connect with people and build pyramids with people. And that's what the game is about, man. It's just about reaching out to people, say, hey, I like what you're doing. I got this. You know, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Let's get some things done. Let's do business. That's what men are supposed to do. That's what men are supposed to do. And the ladies too. But the truth of the matter is the ladies do that. The ladies do that. They know how to use these platforms very well. A lot better than the men do. And that's the sad truth. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Hustleology Show. Again, be sure to subscribe to the Hustleology Show on iTunes. Rate me 5 stars. Also, subscribe to us or follow us on SoundCloud. Be sure to share, like, comment, all that good stuff. But anyway, that's my time. Peace.